Boy, I really front loaded this fancy playlist with alternative artists. Fancy playlist of October 26, 1996. Well, this is not your ordinary radio playlist. Got everything from Alanis Morissette to Salt and Pepper to Drew Hill, Donna Lewis, and alternative bands galore. Counting Crows, Social Distortion, and Gigi Ta. Oh gosh, whoever you are, that was a great record by Gigi Ta and the Eels, Novocaine to the Soul. God, this song just hit the spot. It sounded like a melancholy record. Eels, Novocaine for the Soul, I believe was the name of it. Kind of my chicken scratch is kind of coming into play on this fancy playlist. Down to number 20, down from number 12 the previous week. Love this record. Some MTV memories. Gosh, 20 years ago, can't believe it. Noah came for the soul of the Eels. Basically, the Eels was, for all practical purposes, singer-songwriter, a producer. His name was Mark Oliver Everett. He called himself E. That's how he got started. He signed a deal with Polydor in 1991, and Everett released his first album called A Man Called E. A couple of years later, he released Broken Toy Shop. That was in 1993. A little bit later on, he teamed up with a drummer. His name was Jonathan Butch Norton, and a bass player, songwriter. His name was Tommy Walter, and Tommy Walter was in a band called Abandoned Pools. You might remember them, the alternative band, and they formed a group, the Eels. And they signed a deal. They signed another record deal. This was with DreamWorks Records, and they released Beautiful Freak. Novocaine for the Soul came off that album. It was a hit in England. The top 40 stations just did not play it over here. It was just a little bit too left of center. Perhaps it was they saw it as a ratings killer. The audience would go and say, "What the hell is this?" But in England, it went to number 10 in England. Let me see if I got the chart statistic correctly. Well, it was a hit in England. I didn't write down the chart statistic, but I believe it was a top 10 in England. Here in the States, it was just relegated to alternative radio stations and to college radio stations. It was an alternative modern rock hit here in the States, but not a Billboard Hot 100 hit per se. And it sampled a song by Fats Domino back in the late 50s and early 60s, back in the sock hop years. Let the Four Winds Blow. Fancy that. Fat Man getting sampled on this record. And the album cover, there's a little girl on the album cover with these big eyes. Well, the girl who came in for the photo shoot, her name was Elle Brush, Brosh. She reminded Everett of a miniature Susan. Susan was the name of a girl he went out with some years before Everett did. He wrote a song about her. It's either called Susan's House or Susan Home on the album. Beautiful Freak. Novocaine for the Soul. Gosh, love this record, still do. Sounds good even, well, 20 years later. Believe it stood the test of time. Novocaine for the Soul by the Eels at number 20 on my fancy playlist of October 26, 1996.